All right, we're live. I am Joshua Kemble, and this is my live stream where I work on comics. Basically, I'm an art director. I've been an art director full time for about 8 years now. I've been a professional artist for going on like 20 years, which is kind of insane to even consider. That just means I'm really old. but uh, but anyhow, and this is the live stream where I work on comics, graphic novels, particularly graphic novels like the ones that you will see in the sections below. Like in basically in the comments below, you can see links for my current graphic novel that's out called Two Stories, which is my story about my journey dealing with depression and caregiving for somebody with panic disorder. And then also my other graphic novel, which is coming out on June 7th, called Jacob's Apartment, which is a doomed romance story in the vein of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Ghost World. So if you're into kind of like those indie, like questioning faith, like questioning identity, dreams overlapping reality, and stories that kind of deal with like coming of age kind of tales, then check those out. But I'll play trailers for those throughout the stream. The format of this stream, if you're tuning in for the first time, if you're returning, just be patient with me while I do the little rundown. But if you're joining me for the first time, the format of this show is basically I'm going to be working on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, which is the graphic novel. It's 230-page graphic novel that I have to illustrate in about a year. And so we're on page 10 right now, and I'm roughing out page 11. I got some progress done on Artcasters on Thursday where I did some thumbnails. It's funny if you watch, that show is actually a really good example if you watch what I got done, of like what I can do when I'm talking with people live and what I can't do. So like the first half of the show, I'm doing quick revisions on page 10 for my publisher. And they're like really mild revisions. It's like, hey, can you close this guy's mouth a little more? And I think it was like changing the pose of Elizabeth Barrett Browning in like panel 3. And by the way, I'll be showing art, not just my beautiful face. So don't worry, you won't have to just stare at me for like too long. But anyhow, so I got like a lot of progress done on the revisions, but when it came to thumbnailing and doing roughs, which is something I don't mind live streaming while doing it, but I usually can't have conversations with other people like on air while doing that because it requires so much focus and thinking and stuff. And like, so it even like in my own personal work, like that's a time where I don't usually put on like a lot of music or have a lot of sound, because I'm trying to kind of focus and like think about like drawing and stuff like that. So it's funny if you watch Artcasters on Scott Circlin's channel, which was a good episode. It was fun. We talked about like dark humor, and it was a really good conversation, which means like I got what I needed to get done, but it took me about an hour longer to do it on the thumbnail front. But we did get the thumbnail done. So what I'm going to be working on today is roughs. I'm going to get a good start on that. Full disclosure, the stream will probably be about an hour because I don't want to conflict with Gary's stream. Gary Hodges is a friend of the Artcasters and a friend of the channel and stuff like that. And he has a stream that goes every Saturday at 11. And so I'll probably be joining and watching that. And my hope is to kind of get a little bit of progress done on the roughs in the meantime. And then I'll probably be streaming before and after his stream, just so we're not like, I don't know, it just feels like proper etiquette. So if you guys are tuning in and watching this, we can hang out and then work on art and then hopefully hop over to Gary's channel after. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the format so you can kind of see how this works. So we have if I go to daily stream right here, That's my little template setup for this. So right over here is the pages I'll be working on, and then right down here is the section of script that I'm going to be working on. And I just wanted to show you guys the progress on page 10. I've finished up page 10, and then today is going to be a big catch-up day where I'm going to try to get as many roughs done as I can in like one day. So that like by tomorrow I can start working on finalizing the next set of pages. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. So this story, just if you're tuning in for the first time too, is telling a tale, weaving a historical fiction tale. It's written by my sister. It's a really good script. We pitched it out like kind of at the peak of the pandemic when everything shut down, and there was this weird window of time where I had finished 2 Stories book 1. That had been published, and all of the promotional stuff for that had been done. I had pretty much roughed out all of book 2, and I wanted to take like a brief break from that to just kind of like send stuff to my literary agent to have her shop around while I was working on book 2. And so that's the point where I shopped around Jacob's Apartment, which was a graphic novel I had finished prior to that. And then we started shopping around this idea as well, the publishers. And then it was like the best problem to have. I'm like 10 pages into 2 Stories book 2, somewhere around there, when we found out that like Jacob's Apartment got picked up for publication, as well as this book. And so it's like by the time I had Jacob's set with the publisher, Graphic Mundi, and like sent out and everything revised and edited and stuff like that, then I made a little more progress on 2 Stories book 2, and then we ended up getting a publishing deal for this book, which is a really cool thing, and it's really exciting. It's a good opportunity. You don't want to say no to doors opening. So 2 Stories book 2 has been put on temporary hold for me to knock this out. So now I'm in a scenario where I have to finish 2 graphic novels. So my next few years are pretty booked up, but it's a good problem to have. But anyhow, so this story is historical fiction. It's a change of pace for what I usually do. It's a collaborative effort, which is interesting because I haven't done that in a long time. We're kind of co-creating this world with Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Robert. And right now we're actually at a scene on 50 Wimple Street where Robert has kind of snuck into Elizabeth's room while Elizabeth's father is away. And they're kind of talking about, hinting at like plans of like stealing away and kind of escaping. So this is the last page that we finished. And now we're going to basically get into trying to get some roughs done and see how far we can get before, I don't know, we'll say like 10:40 would be a good time to kind of end the stream. So it's like 9:30 my time now. If you're joining from like another coast or something like that, just that gives you a rough idea of where we're at. And then we'll try to go till like about 10:40 when I think that'll give enough time to kind of end the stream and for all of us to go hop over to Gary's live stream, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, really good creator too. So I want to make sure we're giving him due time and hanging out with him and stuff. Okay, so this is what I got done. So I got those revisions done. Again, I had to change, like if you guys watched like the last few streams, originally I had Elizabeth like with her arms kind of folded over the couch, and I think I kind of understood once they kind of made the comment. Well, Lavender noticed that like it just didn't seem right for her to be kind of like playfully leaning over the couch when she's like on a chase lounge, like sick, which actually makes a lot of sense. So we revised it to where it's just basically her looking over her shoulder rather than totally leaning over it. That was like my tendency as a cartoonist, is to kind of think in exaggeration. So if I think like somebody's looking over the couch, I'm going to think like the silent movie version of somebody looking over a couch and exaggerate it. But I went a little too far with the exaggeration, so we pulled it back a little bit for panel 3. And then the only other thing that changed on this page during that Artcaster stream was that his mouth closed a little more so that it didn't look like he was about to like eat her face, which is probably a good revision as well, because I hadn't quite realized that until it was mentioned like, hey, could we have his mouth closed just a little bit? Because it's a conversation, it's not a vampire novel. And the second that was brought up, like, hey, his mouth's a little wide open, that was like a reasonable revision too. So we went ahead and revised that, and then I thumbed out like these thumbnails, and now we're going to be working on roughs. And the thumbnails are probably pretty unintelligible, but once we get into breaking down the script and the roughs, like I think you guys will see the wisdom of hopefully some of the choices I've made. Okay, so here we go. So panel 1 is going to be Wilson hurries over to the sofa, Mr. Browning out through the kitchen. So she's basically saying like, hey, like you need to get out. Like she's at the end of panel 10, she Wilson was looking through the window, and then she was like, Mr. Browning. So I think, let's see, what was that? So she said, Mr. Browning, the carriage is returned. And then like Robert's like, oh no. So he's saying, bah, this will be the last time I bid you goodbye. It's very, very romantic. So he kisses her forehead, and now we're going to be doing Wilson hurrying over to the sofa, which I the more I looked into it, it looked like she had a Chase lounge in her room, which has been an on-running joke here because there's a song called Chase Lounge. And I've joked that that's Elizabeth Barrett Browning's song now. And now we're going to get into this. So Wilson hurries over to the sofa, and Mr. Browning out through the kitchen. That's what we're going to do. And I thought it would be cool. Let's see. So I want to have my photo references, mainly of the maid. We kind of, at this point, like the nice thing is we've already done all the research for like what this room's going to look like and stuff like that. So hopefully that means these roughs go relatively quickly, but we'll kind of find out. So I'm going to have the maid, and I thought it would be cool to have her hand kind of in the foreground. This might be too much, but we'll see. I got to kind of figure it out, feel it out. So I thought it would be good if she's kind of like, the maid is kind of like going to be in the foreground here. And I don't want to get too noodly with this. So I do need to be a little more loose with my lines. I can already tell like it's morning. I need to loosen up and get a little more confident with my my drawings here. You'll notice that on a lot of streams, like when I'm working and I find that I'm like working a little too tight, or being too precious with my art, especially when you're dealing with like, these are roughs, they're relatively tight roughs, but they're not like final products. It's mainly to establish costumes, lighting, and staging, like acting. So I do want to kind of wildly foreshorten her hand a little bit here. We'll see if that works. And again, I could be on a totally weird path here, but it's the morning, and I think it's really good to like loosen up, go in boldly, and kind of see where we end up. We got plenty of time today. And the nice thing about roughs is, you know, it's okay to kind of get them wrong too. That's okay. That's me speaking to myself there. Okay. So here she's going to be. Yeah, exactly. Okay. This is where I need to be. Yes. Okay. So I want her to kind of have, I want her saying like out, out. So actually, wow, I'm super loose, not loose, too tight today. It's going to be interesting to see if I can loosen up a little bit. But I think at least we're getting a rough idea here. The maid has this kind of cool like haircut thing where it's like covering just a little bit of her ear. And also, this is a day stream, so full disclosure, you're gonna hear, noises of like daily life and stuff going on around because everybody here has lives. So bear with that too. Okay, so let's see here. So I had a really inspiring moment the other day. I'm gonna go ahead and brag about my wife real quick, but it's like yesterday, and you'll see on these streams sometimes, especially on weekends, where my wife will be like in the background, kind of working on her iMac or whatever, working on kids' books and illustrations. But it was kind of cool. Like I think it was like 2 days ago or something. She ordered a couple copies of books that she hadn't ordered that she had illustrated, and which I really want to recommend to like people when you're illustrating or doing like professional art. I think it's a really good idea to have copies. It's a really good idea to have copies of what you do. It's almost like the importance of celebrating victories, which I think is like, I don't know, it's like an important thing in life. Like if you accomplish something, it's good to like kind of celebrate it and to know about it and to kind of, I don't know, like make an event out of it. I think that's important for like teams too, where it's like, if you're working with like art teams, it's really important for art teams to be able to have like copies of what they do or like prints of what they do, because like when you're a commercial artist, like that's the game. Like that's what we're doing, is like making books or making things like that. So anyhow, long story short, it was kind of neat because my wife finally picked up some copies of like some of the books she's done. And we were kind of looking through a bunch of the books that she's illustrated, and it was like unbelievable. Like unbelievably cool. Like I definitely would encourage you guys to check out her work. Her name is Kemble. You can like, check out like the children's books she's done. Just put that name into like Amazon and just kind of see. But it's just really impressive. She's done like over, I don't know, in the past year or two, I think she's illustrated over 20 children's books, which is like, it's mind-boggling. So I thought I should mention that on here so you guys can check out that work, because it's really cool and inspiring. And looking through that, it also gave me a lot of inspiration to kind of get moving more on this, because like even though for me like the execution of like hundreds of these pages in a year seems like an impossibility, that's like I'm inspired by my wife. Because I mean she's managed to illustrate like about 20 kids books in a year, so I think I can handle, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like I should probably be able to handle doing like a couple hundred pages. Yeah, it was just really inspiring and cool, and it's cool to see like the variety of like the different challenges and stuff that she's tackled as an illustrator. Like the just like crowd scenes, like overhead shots of children. Sorry, I'll stop talking positively about you on stream.
I can do 20 plus books. It was more like 12.
Oh, okay. My wife corrected me and said it's been more like 12 books, not 20. I'm sorry. But it's a crazy amount of books. I mean, 12 children's books is still a lot. And we were looking at the stack, and like in the last 2 years, I would say it's a little closer to 20. But in the last year, maybe 12. But still, that's a lot of illustration. It's like, so that's 24 pages a book. So yeah, that's over 200 pages that she's put out. And I've talked about, my wife's skill and like how good she is at illustration and how inspiring she is as an artist. But I just thought it's worth mentioning that these things are possible. It's kind of cool, and it's been really fun to see that happening. I don't like I don't like her arm here. That feels like a stop gesture, and that's not good. Here I want her more to have like her arm, and she has these like puffy sleeves. Okay. But anyhow, so that was really inspiring. We were looking through those books like I think like 2 days ago or whatever. And or maybe a night ago, I don't know. But anyhow, it was cool to see like a lot of those arrive and just kind of look through like I think there's just a real value to like again seeing what you've accomplished as an artist. Okay, so we have so that's what this is. So we're getting there. We're making some progress on this rough. And we'll kind of see what all happens from there. I think I want Robert to be okay. So we have the made part. Now let's check out Robert. Robert's going to be here. Robert costume and Robert. Yay. I want there to be a little bit of drama to this too. So I'm thinking that like I mean, one of the huge advantages of like working on okay, so I'm going to call this rough. So one of the huge advantages of working with roughs and different iterations is you get to kind of see a page and really work out your composition before you commit. And that creates I think creates much more dynamic compositions. It's kind of like an illustrator's approach to cartooning. And also I will tell you guys, like, it's one of my secrets. Because like as an illustrator, it's like I'm definitely not like the best illustrator in the world. I think even as a designer, like technically I'm not like the greatest designer on the planet, but I do pride myself in my ability to compose and design a page and come up with compelling typography and layouts. And so it's like I think that, and also to be able to get to, this is a weird thing with illustration, but it's like to be able to bring stuff to a certain level of finish, where it looks professional. These are all like things that have benefited me a lot and given me an advantage in kind of in the market. It's just the fact that like I'll take time to kind of iterate a sketch and then revise my composition a lot so that I have hopefully like a strong composition. Because, and I will say this, like a strong composition will take, decent drawings and make them look like 50 times better. And I take a little bit of pride in that being like one of, I think as an artist, you should know your strengths and weaknesses. And I would say that's probably one of my biggest strengths is more on the, composition and what would be the other thing? Conceptual strength. I don't know if that makes sense. Like a lot of people think conceptual strength is just being able to come up with concepts. Most people can come up with concepts, but visual concepts and like visually conveying them, it's like it's a skill. It's like a necessary thing, especially for like somebody art directing. And being able to like think conceptually 10 steps ahead of like the obvious is a really good thing to kind of develop. And again, a lot of that just comes from like the process of like rough and iteration, like doing lots of iterations, like maybe, you know, skewing your viewpoint or whatever. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, for me that's been a real huge advantage, and I'd encourage people to do it. Although honestly, like, you know, if people are really incredible at drawing, do that less, it keeps me having a real nice advantage in the field. So I don't know, maybe don't do it. I'm joking. We're not in a competition with each other, we're in a competition with ourselves, I think, as artists. Okay, but it's a I'm only saying that because like I really think these rough stages are really important for what will inevitably be the final, you know. Let's see. Let me see. What do I want his arm to be? Like, do I want him to be like, do I want it really exaggerated, like he's like this? Or because we could do that like a, oh no. But I kind of think he should be more, what could look startled? Rough's not finals too, so um hmm. Okay, maybe his hands are going to be more like here. Again, we're just doing roughs. Trying to kind of give that seems like a stop kind of gesture. What would he be doing with his hands here? Maybe it will be more of like a arm out. And again, we're just going to exaggerate here. Maybe this could be like an arm out. Let's see. Okay. Let's try this again. That's it. Okay. I think I want him a little bit smaller, I think. And I'm just really enjoying the ability to kind of work out these roughs or whatever. Okay, so there we go. And then we've got like, let's see, he's gonna have, do I want her hand more? I don't want hands like conflicting with each other. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I've got a better idea here. I want to have this like... Do I want to have her pointing? Yeah. There we go. Okay. I want this kind of extreme... Can we foreshorten it? That's not going to work. That could work. Her hand's going to have to be significantly larger. It's going to be into the foreground. Okay, there we go. That is my wife's ringtone, which is the Magnum PI theme. Just wanted to let you guys know. And not like, I don't know. I heard they like rebranded Magnum PI, but I'm sorry. There's no other Magnum PI than like the 1980s Magnum PI. That's my Magnum PI. Any other Magnum PI is just pretending. This foreshortening is going to be a little interesting to pull off because, again, that's like a monster hand there. How can we kind of... Let's get that tweaked and improved. Okay. And again, when it comes to final, all of this will be more worked out. But again, we're just we're roughing it out. So, okay. So there's Mr. Browning. And then here, maybe the hands can be like more... there we go. I like that. Maybe he can be doing more of a horror movie hand. Yep. Kind of think that might be more of it. Okay, there we go. And Elizabeth would be here. All right. Have fun, you guys. And this is going to be Elizabeth, like, sort of in the background, like... And then where would her... Okay, so there's going to be like a drawing desk, but we're doing this at kind of an angle here. This is such a weird rough, but I think it'll work. So that'll be the drawing desk. That'll be the bookshelf. There's a portrait thing here. This is going to be the window and probably see like a little bit of the roof. So that's our rough. There we go. I think that's got some action and movement. I'm wondering if it's tilted enough. Like, should it be even more intense? No, I think that's good. Although I like that movement more, so maybe we will. We're just going to exaggerate. Yeah, okay.
Wait, turn it the other way.
The other way.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but that's more like a straight on shot. It has less movement.
Turn it a little more then.
What, like this way?
Yeah. You don't want him to look all tiny. You want him to look bigger. That looks good. Hang on.
That's good. I will defer to my wife's expert opinion there. One of the great things about being having like artists in the family is they can give you great like on the ground feedback like that. Like my wife literally came in and was like, here's how you improve it. And look at that. Very cool. So we have more dynamic motion that way. That actually does make sense. That's a better. Also, honestly, man, my wife is awesome. That has better movement now too, because now it's going like that. So that leads to the next panel, which is really cool. Okay. Just when I thought I was out. So, okay. There we go. That's going to work. Now let's add just a little bit of tone. We have a good half an hour to 45 minutes left till we're going to kind of have a hard out for Gary's stream, which is at 11. Do. So the light source is going to be behind Robert. Coming from the left. And that's going to be the bookshelf. And there will be like a strong. There we go. And I totally forgot about the type. No, I just made an amateur mistake. Okay, so we're going to do something to kind of rectify that. But she needs to be saying, Mr. Browning out through the kitchen. Usually I do this before I do anything in roughs. So it's going to say, Mr. Browning out through the kitchen. And I think we're probably going to want our words here. Boom, done. Mr. Browning out through the kitchen. And then it's going to have our text balloon. I think it'll be more of one of those. Okay. And honestly, through should be down. These are great things to work out in your roughs because when it comes to finalizing your type, it's like if you have a rough idea of what your hierarchy is for your type, like the way it's going to be stacked, it's like it just saves you buttloads of time on the final, which I think is the official term for it. I'm curious how much of the tree that's being cut down outside by my neighbor you guys are hearing. So I think we're going to have to shift this just a little bit. And maybe just tilt it just a tad bit to kind of accommodate the type a little more. So like a kind mix between the two. There we go. We're going to have a little bit of the window in there. And then we're going to have our lovely thing there. And maybe Robert's back. Okay. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We have finished a thumbnail. Well, part of the thumbnail. So that's a good rough. What I do is like consolidate all that. And then I think what I'm going to do, because this is a relatively short stream, is I'm going to show the trailer for my graphic novel, Jacob's Apartment. I think that's what we'll do. Okay. But one section of the thumbnail's done. We're going to be doing roughs for a lot of these pages in sequence too. But if you're just joining, welcome. I'm going to play the trailer for Jacob's Apartment, my graphic novel that's coming out on June 7th. The trailer was originally made before the book shortage. So notice it'll say, sorry, not the book shortage, but it's like a paper shortage, supply shortage due to COVID. And so the book, almost all book releases, but this book release got pushed by like a week. So it will be out on June 7th. And I can guarantee that the books will be printed and out by then, because I literally have received the final copies, one of them myself. So, and they're beautiful. So if you haven't pre-ordered it yet, pre-order it. And if you're curious what it is, here is the trailer for it, so you guys can see it. And then we'll get back to working on art. So here we go. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. All right. And I barely made it back, but I made it. Okay, so we're going to do panel 2. So panel 2 is going to be, let's see on the script here. It says, so now it's Robert stands pointing at Elizabeth's dinner tray. Philip just said, good morning, Josh. Unusual to see you on during the day. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do more Saturday streams, but I also don't want to conflict with Gary Hodges, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots. He's doing a live stream every Saturday at like 11. And because he's a friend, it's like I don't want to compete. So I'm going to be doing streams like kind of around his streams on Saturdays. But I'm planning on trying to kind of stream every weekend, especially this Saturday and Sunday. So Philip, maybe like later after Gary's stream today, maybe we can have that conversation on stream. Although now, unfortunately, it's like it's hard to say if that'll happen because like now I have to work on those thumbnails and roughs, which I started this stream talking about kind of like how little I got done on Artcasters, like the second half. The first half I was doing like stuff like colors and revisions and stuff like that, and that's very easy to have like conversations live with people. But then like you probably know this from working in animation, but it's like I feel like when I'm roughing or I'm like working on thumbnails, I need to like have real focus on the thing itself. But anyhow, yeah, so I'll be streaming probably all day today. That's my goal. But I'll probably hop onto Gary's in about like at about 10:40 or whatever. I'm gonna hop out of here, hop onto Gary's channel, and then hop back to mine. So yeah. But we'll see how that works. So anyhow, Robert stands pointing at Elizabeth's dinner tray. I feel like the dinner tray needs to be somewhat. I didn't even think about that initially, but I'm kind of feeling like we need to seed that in here a little bit. So here's what I'm thinking with this. We might need to kind of almost like this might need to be even smaller so that I can have the dinner tray in the foreground of the first panel. Because this is just, and Philip, who worked in animation, you'll be familiar in the chats. It's that rule of like, if you have a prop, you want to introduce it before it's used. Otherwise, it kind of feels like, I don't know. We've all had those moments when you're watching like a movie or whatever, and it's like there's like a Deus Ex Machina, that like the God Machine thing that shows up like toward the end of sorry, I'm getting a spam call on my phone. But you'll get like those moments where like, like somebody pulls out like a prop and you're like, wait, what? Where did that come from? And it feels like that. It feels almost like a cop out in a plot. That's the one thing I want to kind of avoid here. We need to greatly reduce the size of this actually to make this work. So anyhow, that's why you want to introduce plot devices earlier, like even props. I think in animation they do that all the time too, where it's like if you're gonna have somebody, like pull out a prop, like it's better. I mean, you can have them just kind of pull it out of nowhere, but or like a set piece. But in general, you want to kind of establish it a little earlier so people are willing to accept it, rather than feeling like it's kind of sloppy storytelling. And that goes for anything. Like if you have characters in stories that just magically appear and resolve a plot line, that's something to kind of try to avoid as a writer. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like you're greasing the wheels for people. So we have to revise this first panel a little bit to have some dinner tray action. So I want to have the dinner tray. It'll be interesting to see how we can kind of work that in. I think if the dinner tray's here, it's like a lower angle, and maybe we have that Oh, you know what? I have a better idea. So it's almost like we're behind the dinner tray a little bit. And we have this interesting meal that was kind of established earlier, a couple things ahead. But even if it's just like behind the dinner tray that the shot will occur, I think that's going to be important. This is why roughs are so essential too, because it's like, okay, that didn't cost me anything to make that change. um, but in the final, like that could be like a complete recomposition of the entire thing. Um, so now it's like, okay, I think that's subtle enough that it'll bleed into the next thing. I liked his arm getting cut off though a little bit compositionally. So we'll see if we can kind of still work that in. But we're just kind of working out like what's our composition going to look like. And you guys hopefully are pretty familiar with this like room now, to kind of know how that works. Cool. Philip said I have to run back now for 10 to 15 minutes, but I'll be checking in through the day. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Make sure you check out Gary's stream at like 11 too. That'll be fun. And then after that, I plan on streaming tonight. So that it should be a day full of streaming and drawing, which I'm actually pretty excited about. It's a time. Most of what I'm going to dedicate today to is roughs. There is like a brief interview that I have to do off stream. That's just like, kind of a questionnaire for like an article. But I think other than that, I should be good to kind of draw most of the day. So there we go. Now we've got that kind of worked out. Good to know. Okay. Now save that. Now it's going to be, this one is Robert in the foreground. Again, I'm going to look at my Robert reference. And I want to have Robert kind of, you had better eat that or you know what he will say. Okay. So this is going to, I won't make the same mistake twice. I will remember my typography earlier. Anyhow, happy Saturday, everybody. It's a pretty cool morning. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get working on art. Feel very lucky to be able to work on art today. That's a really cool thing. Okay, you had better eat that or you know what he will say. This is what this is going to say. You had better eat that or you know what he will say. Okay. I think I don't like that for that stacking. I want to leave. I want him in the far right. So don't worry, not the. Okay, let's see. Or you know what, and then it's going to say he will say here. Boom. That's a much better arrangement there because that's going to leave us room to have Robert on the right. Okay. Man, there's like just phone calls galore going on here. I don't know if you guys are hearing those. It's like everybody's got their ringtones off, so there's just like zzz going on everywhere. All right. So I'm going to have Robert here. I want this to be kind of actually. Okay. There we go. Let's see if we've got. Okay. Getting into too many specifics right now. Okay. Let's try. Initially, I'm trying to kind of make it a little more compelling than my thumbnail had it, but maybe that's an incorrect thing to do. So we're going to have our food up here. Our food's going to be here. Sort of in the foreground. I don't know if I like the arrangement of the type either now. It just seems like such a strange thing to have to. It's just a very strange thing to have to depict without it being too corny. So I'm thinking here. Let's see. You know, I kind of like that. What if we have it? Aha. Okay, I think I've got it figured out here. So this is going to be. This will actually make a lot more sense. I was trying to think of like a more naturalistic way to show it. Where it's not like the thing I don't want it to seem like is that like Robert's some domineering guy who's just like, you gotta eat that, or like it, that the way that this is visually shown could really come across the wrong way if it and I feel like if we had Robert in the foreground kind of in a more domineering pose, like I think cutting off his head in the panel, I, it, I was kind of visually trying to work out like what would be the least sort of potentially abusive seeming panel. Like it's interesting how that could easily be misread. So I think they like he could seem like some domineering guy being like, you got to eat that kind of thing, and it's like, no, it's not the way it's written. But also it's one of those things that if like visually it was depicted um the wrong way. So okay, this is going to be the maid. Maid's going to have her crazy hat on with the flower. Maybe arms folded? What do you think? Elizabeth. Leaning back on her arm a little bit, maybe. Got her frilly nightgown going. Hand kind of down. Chase lounge. Portrait. And then the window will be there. And then we have like this window trim kind of thing. There's like a trim going on. Okay, I think that works. That works much better. So that's going to be our that looks a lot less kind of intimidating. And it also reinforces the fact that, like, hey, Robert's on the way out of this room because he's rushing to the kitchen to get out before he gets caught by Elizabeth's terrible father. I hate to say that, but I just the more like I read about the Barretts, it's like the man. I mean, the Barretts of Wimple Street is ridiculous. It's not a really good interpretation of the Brownings. But the one thing it does get right is she did have a very domineering kind of crappy father who I think was like a slave owner. He's not a good person. And so yeah, so anyhow, needless to say, he was not a good guy, Mr. Barrett. But he also wasn't holding her hostage. Like she wasn't some like I think the thing that's frustrating about that movie is like it kind of depicts like Elizabeth as if she was this like woman in distress with like out any sort of agency, or it always depicts it as like Robert rescuing her. And it seems like Elizabeth was like a lot older than Robert and was very aware of like what like she had a lot more agency and choice and like was a much more powerful person than she's been depicted as in the in previous stuff. There we go. We got that thumbnail done. Where are we at for time? So we've got that rough done. That's good. Aha. So now we're going to do Elizabeth Smiles Wickedly. I know these are roughs. Not always the most exciting thing to see, but I think we're going to have our Elizabeth. Okay, Elizabeth's there. We're going to have Elizabeth Smiles Wickedly. If you're smiling wickedly, your head's going to be tilted a little bit, right? Elizabeth's an interesting person to try to draw and have like not be terrifying. Because she did have like a, you know, very sullen features. So it's like we're sort of trying to honor Elizabeth, but also like make it, you know, show her as like Robert saw her. Um, I think she'd have more of like a kind of curled up. There we go. Got it. This will give us like a rough view. And then we've got the curls. She has like these really curly interesting, very unique. Like I think Elizabeth had like a very unique hair. Should she be looking down if she's smiling at the food? That kind of looks evil. But it does say she smiles wickedly. Should it one of her that's the wrong eyebrow. Maybe this one? There we go. That kind of works for a wicked smile. Okay, and this might be about all we can get before we're conflicting streams. I don't want to cross streams, guys. Okay, with all right, here we go. We're gonna kind of know that her light source here is going to be in front of her somewhat. She's tilting her head a little bit, so we're going to have a little bit of a side thing going here. And she'll have what will she have behind her? Probably the chase a little bit. Not much you're going to see. I love it. Okay. Whew, we're almost done with roughing a page. I feel like we might be able to get a little more progress done. We got about 10 minutes. So, and again, our goal here, let me correct his head a little bit so we can kind of see it. But our goal here is going to be to sort of establish these scenes and get like a clearer rough so we're able to kind of work through. Okay. Ooh, I made the mistake of drawing on my thumbnail layer, so we're going to make that a new layer. This will be called thumbs. And we're going to merge down. I also do want to prettify it a little bit. Give her a bit more of a skull there. That would be good. Got it. Boom. Look at that. Okay. So roughs for this sequence is going to be her saying, Wilson. And this is a wide shot, which is going to be very similar to that panel. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. I always keep prints as I'm working. So this is a similar angle of a room. Let's see if we can make this happen. Similar angle of a room. Let's see. We need, since this is one word she's saying, I don't think I need to block in the text here. So this is going to be Wilson is here. She's going to be kind of picking up the food, which will be right here. Something like that. Bending down to do so. This will be Elizabeth here. Kind of leaning. And then Robert is going to be walking out of panel. This will be her chase. This will be the bookshelf thing. That's going to be and this is going to be the Wilson. Okay, we have 3 minutes. So here's Elizabeth. She's leaning her arm back a little bit on her chase. She's got like those crazy, awesome, long wizard sleeves that we've talked about ad nauseum. For those of you who may not have been there on earlier streams or whatever, it's the wizard sleeves are like a thing we found out. I like the idea of this being kind of a hand that's like that. She's got her blanket. Man, when I finally loosen up too, I gotta change streams real quick. So we've got Wilson here. Wilson's gonna have her hat. It's gonna be sort of. Let's get rid of that. Her hair made. This is going to be that dinner tray. This is going to be the, this is that. Okay, guys, we got to call it. I will work more on these roughs on the next on probably during Gary's stream. So I'm gonna go cruise over to Gary Hodges' channel, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, and kind of hang out. And then I'll be back streaming a little later. I appreciate everybody who stopped by, and I will see you guys on the next live stream, probably a little later in the afternoon. All right. So if you're watching this after the fact too, make sure you're subscribed. You've hit that bell, and of course, make sure you go check out Gary Hodges' live stream at 11 today, and then we'll kind of proceed from there. All right. Have a good one. Bye.